What if the man who abandoned you had no idea you even existed? Emily Carter had asked herself that question 1,000 times, whispered it in the dark while her daughter slept beside her on freezing nights, screamed it in her mind every time she saw his face in Lily's. It haunted her like a ghost. For 12 long years, she'd carried the weight of that silence, of the what-ifs and never-could-bes. But today the past came crashing back, and it had a name, a face, a heartbeat. She never imagined that the man who once swore to love her forever would stand in front of her on a cracked Charleston sidewalk and see the child she raised, his child, for the first time. Her heart was torn wide open, raw, and exposed because one truth had become undeniable: nothing could stay buried forever. But what Emily didn't know, what none of them knew, was that behind that reunion hid a deeper betrayal, a secret so powerful it could burn everything to the ground. If you stay with this story, you'll witness the moment love collides with truth, and a mother is forced to risk everything to protect the only person she's ever lived for. What happens next will leave you speechless. It was a blistering afternoon on Main Street in Charleston, South Carolina. The kind of heat that made the concrete shimmer and turned patience into a luxury. People bustled past with iced coffees and AirPods, dodging sidewalk cracks and avoiding eye contact with the homeless like they were invisible. Among them sat Lily Carter, a 12-year-old girl with tangled chestnut hair and too much wisdom in her tired eyes. She clutched a crumpled plastic cup with a few coins she'd managed to gather after hours of offering polite smiles and gentle pleas to people who never really saw her. A few feet away, her mother, Emily Carter, was wiping car windows at the traffic light. 30, exhausted and sunburnt, she moved like someone who'd learned not to hope. The rag in her hand was thin, fraying at the edges, kind of like her spirit. They had been living on the streets for 8 months. Lily had learned how to read faces, how to distinguish those who might offer $1 from those who clutched their wallets tighter. But that day, as the sun hit a sharp angle, she noticed someone different. He was walking confidently down the sidewalk in a navy suit that shimmered faintly under the sun. His brown hair was tinged with gray. His leather briefcase swung beside him like a metronome. And his face, something about his face made her freeze. Those eyes, almond-shaped, dark brown, just like hers. The man stopped to check his phone, oblivious to the world. Lily stared transfixed. A chill ran down her back despite the heat. She couldn't place it. Not exactly. But deep in her chest, something pounded with urgency. Suddenly, she stood. Sir, wait." She shouted, her voice slicing through the thick city air as she darted toward him. The man turned, startled. Their eyes met. "I know you," she said, breathless. Richard Walker blinked. He didn't recognize the ragged little girl standing before him, her cheeks smudged, her shirt torn at the seams. But her voice, it hit something buried. "How do you know me?" he asked, cautious but not unkind. "My mom has a picture of you," Lily said. "An old one. She said you used to smile like that." Time stopped. Richard's world tilted. There was only one woman in his past who could possibly have a photo of him smiling like that. Only one who used to hold that look in her eyes when she spoke of forever. "What's your mom's name?" he asked, his voice suddenly tight. "Emily," she said. "Emily Carter." His stomach clenched. He hadn't heard that name in over a decade. 13 years ago, Emily had vanished from his life after his parents, Margaret and William Walker, tore them apart. He'd never heard from her again. "Where is she?" he asked, eyes darting toward the busy street. Lily pointed. "She's working at the light. Right there." Richard followed her gaze. The woman was bent over a windshield, wiping furiously as the light turned yellow. Even from across the street, he recognized the tilt of her head, the way she moved. His heart raced. "Do you want me to get her?" Lily asked, hope flickering in her voice. He could only nod. Lily darted into the street, weaving between traffic like it was second nature. Richard moved slower, as though walking through a dream. Every step toward the intersection was a step toward a past he thought had been buried, a past he had never stopped mourning. "Mom," Lily called, breathless. "I found him. The man in your photo." Emily turned, expecting a social worker or maybe a police officer. But when her eyes landed on Richard, she dropped the rag in her hand. Her entire body locked. "Richard," she whispered. He stopped a few feet away. Emily. Their eyes locked. 13 years unraveled in the space between them. I can't believe it's really you, he said, his voice cracking. After all this time, I can't believe it either, she replied, her voice low. Lily looked between them, confused but buzzing with the electricity in the air. So, you do know each other? Yes, Richard said softly, never breaking eye contact with Emily. We knew each other very well. The air felt heavy. What happened, he asked. How did it come to this? Emily glanced down at her clothes, then quickly looked away. The shame hit her harder than hunger ever had. It's a long story, she murmured, and not one for the street. Then let's go somewhere, Richard said immediately. Please, I need to understand. Emily hesitated. Years of disappointment had taught her that kind promises were often followed by disappearing acts. I'm not sure that's a good idea, she said. Please, Richard repeated. I need to know why you disappeared, why you left, why you never told me. Are you going to help us, Lily asked suddenly. Like, really help us with food, with stuff? The question hit Richard like a punch to the gut. He had been fixated on unraveling the mystery of his past, but this child, this girl who might be his daughter, was hungry, dirty, desperate, and he'd been standing there worried about answers. Yes, he said, turning to Lily. Yes, I will help, I promise. Emily's eyes darted between them. Richard, you don't owe us anything. You probably have a life now, a family. This isn't your problem. I don't have a family, he said, firmer than he meant to. I never married, never had kids. After you left, he trailed off. I never moved on. The light turned green. Cars honked. Real life came roaring back, demanding a decision. Emily swallowed hard. Okay, she said quietly, but just for lunch. Then we go our separate ways. Richard nodded, though. In his chest, he knew this wasn't going to be just lunch. As they walked toward a quiet diner on the corner, Lily beamed. She had no idea what she truly started with a single sentence. I know you, and yet those 3 words were about to rewrite all of their lives. We'll continue the story shortly, but first, have you ever had a single moment that changed everything? Tell me, do you believe in fate, or do you think some people are just meant to find each other, no matter what? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if this story touched you, please like the video and tap that heart. There's a strange stillness that comes after an emotional storm, like the moment you exhale after holding your breath for too long. That's what it felt like as Richard, Emily, and Lily sat in the back booth of a quiet family diner, just a block from Main Street. The clatter of silverware, the murmur of conversations, the scent of fresh coffee and fried chicken, it all felt painfully ordinary for something so extraordinary. Lily sat between them, her eyes wide at the menu. Can I get the combo plate? She asked hesitantly, like she expected the answer to be no. You can get anything you want, Richard said softly, his voice cracking just a little. Emily watched him with a guarded look. She didn't trust ease, not after everything. While Lily busied herself reading the list of sides, Emily leaned in. Before you ask the questions, I know you're dying to ask. Yes, she's yours. Richard's mouth parted, but nothing came out. The words hung in the air like a secret that had finally found its voice. I found out I was pregnant a week after your mother came to see me. Emily continued, her voice low. She offered me money to leave you, said I wasn't good enough, poor, uneducated. She made it sound like being with you would destroy your life. Richard's jaw clenched. He remembered that night, his father storming in Emily, leaving in tears. But he had no idea his mother had gone that far. I told her to get out. I said no, Emily added quickly. I wasn't with you for your money. I loved you. I know, he whispered, but I also knew. She looked away, her fingers curling around her coffee mug. If I told you I was pregnant, she would have ruined everything. For me, for the baby, so I disappeared. A long silence passed, the kind of silence that stretches between two people who once knew every inch of each other's hearts and are now trying to recognize the ruins. She's amazing, Richard said finally. Smart, brave. You did a beautiful job. Emily let out a breath, part disbelief, part relief. But why the streets, he asked. Why this life? Her eyes darkened. My mom died when Lily was 8. Cancer. After that, everything fell apart. I worked at a textile plant, but it shut down. Then odd jobs, house cleaning, babysitting, but it never covered rent and food. We tried shelters, but they fill up fast. Eventually, her voice faltered. The sidewalk became our bedroom. Richard looked at Lily, who was now sipping her mango juice, unaware of the avalanche her mother was reliving. He swallowed hard. I should have been there, he said. I should have known. No, Emily shook her head. It wasn't your fault, but it was my family, Richard whispered. The waiter returned with their food, giving them a brief reprieve. Lily's eyes lit up at the sight of a full plate. She ate with a hunger that didn't come from just being starved. It came from months of pretending she wasn't. Halfway through the meal, she looked up. Mr. Richard, his heart twisted. You can just call me Richard, or what, she asked curiously. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. We'll get to that. Lily tilted her head, then went back to her chicken like it was the most natural exchange in the world. Later, back at his penthouse in Hudson Heights, everything felt surreal. The modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows looked like a spread from an architecture magazine. And yet, the moment Lily stepped inside, she clung to Emily's hand like the floor might vanish beneath her. This is your home now, Richard said gently. Both of you. Emily stood just inside the door, as if afraid her footsteps would leave dirt on the polished floors. We can't stay here. It's too much. Too fast. He turned to her. Emily, you're not some charity case. You're the woman I loved. You're the mother of my child. We don't belong here. Why not? She gestured to her torn shoes, Lily's worn-out clothes. Look at us. I am, he said quietly, and I see everything that matters. The next morning, while Lily was taking a long, hot shower, her first in weeks, Richard turned to Emily. There's something I have to do. What is it I'm going to tell my parents? Emily froze. Richard, no, not yet. I have to. They'll destroy this, just like before. Then let them try. His voice was steel. I won't lose you again. But nothing could prepare him for what came next. That afternoon, while Lily was reading a book in the guest room, Emily walked into Richard's study holding something small and black in her hand. It's Lily's voice recorder, she said. She said she accidentally left it on when she met your mother. I didn't believe her until I listened. She pressed play. Margaret's voice filled the air, sharp, entitled, cold. I don't care if she has his eyes. That woman is dangerous. She'll drag him down. I don't believe a word of it. She's playing the long game. Silence. Then Lily's small, trembling voice. She's not playing anything. She's my mom. Richard stood trembling. That was 2 days ago, Emily said. Lily hasn't been the same since. Rage and grief churned in his gut. I'm going to her. Tonight. Emily stepped in front of him. No, I am. Emily. She needs to hear from me, but I need to know something first. What she looked him dead in the eyes. If they make you choose between us and them, who do you choose? He didn't blink. You, her, us. Emily's expression broke years of guarded caution, crumbling all at once. Then let's go tell your parents the truth. The war had begun, and they were walking into the fire together. Before we continue, I want to pause and ask you, do you think love should conquer blood ties? If your parents were the ones standing in the way of your family's happiness, what would you do? If this story moved you, please like the video and tap that heart. Your support means more than you know. There's something terrifyingly beautiful about walking into a place you once feared, no longer afraid. That's what it felt like when Emily and Richard stepped into the marble foyer of the Walker estate that evening. The chandeliers still glistened like frozen rain. The cold elegance of the home hadn't changed, but something in the air had. This time, Emily wasn't alone. This time, she held her head high, not because she wasn't scared, but because she had something worth protecting. And Richard. He walked beside her not as a man divided, but as a father and a partner who had finally made a choice. Margaret Walker was waiting in the drawing room, sipping from a delicate teacup like she already knew they were coming. William sat by the fireplace, newspaper folded neatly on his lap. It was the kind of calm that usually came before a storm. I wasn't expecting company, Margaret said without looking up. Richard stepped forward. "We're not here for tea." She glanced at Emily with thinly veiled disdain. "I see the stray has followed you home." Emily didn't flinch. "I'm not here to fight Margaret. I'm here to finish what you started 13 years ago." Margaret finally looked at her son. "So this is it? You bring her back, parade a child in front of us, some street child, and expect us to roll out the welcome mat? She's not some child. She's my daughter," Richard said, his voice firm. Margaret let out a bitter laugh. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do," he said, pulling out a folded envelope. "I had the DNA test done yesterday. I got the results an hour ago. She's mine." A silence fell like thunder. William cleared his throat. "Even if that's true, Richard, you have responsibilities, reputation, the company." "I'm not your puppet," Richard snapped. "I won't sacrifice my family to keep your image spotless." Emily stepped in gently. "We're not here to ruin your life. We just want to live ours." "You expect us to believe this isn't some con," Margaret hissed, "that you didn't plant this girl to reel him back in." "I didn't plant anything," Emily said quietly. "I raised our daughter alone. I scrubbed floors, begged for work, slept in alleys. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Because I wasn't going to let her starve. I don't need your money. I just want Richard to be part of her life. If he wants to be." Richard reached for Emily's hand. "I do. I always have." Then a voice came from the doorway. Small, steady, unshaken. "So it's true," Lily said. She stood there in a pale dress Emily had found in a donation bin. Her hair had been brushed, her face clean, but her eyes carried the weight of too many nights spent on sidewalks. "You're my grandma," she said, looking straight at Margaret. Margaret's face froze. "You don't have to like me, but I'm not going anywhere." And just like that, the ice cracked. William stood. "Margaret," he said softly. "Enough." She turned to him, stunned. "What enough?" he repeated. "He's our son. She's his child. We lost them once already. I'm not watching him walk out again." For the first time, Margaret faltered. Emily took Lily's hand and started to turn away, but Richard stopped her. "Wait." He looked at his mother. "You once told me love was a weakness, that marrying Emily would ruin everything." Margaret stiffened. "But love isn't weakness. It's survival. It's the reason Emily didn't give up. It's the reason Lily's standing here today. And it's the reason I'm done letting fear control our lives." No one said a word. Then Margaret's voice, barely audible, whispered, "She has your eyes." Emily blinked. "What, she has your eyes, Richard?" "I knew it the moment I saw her." Richard said nothing. He just tightened his grip on Emily's hand, then turned and led them both out of the room. Outside, the night air felt cleaner, the stars clearer. They didn't speak as they climbed into Richard's car, but in the back seat, Lily was smiling. 3 months later, Emily stood at the edge of a garden barefoot in the grass, watching Lily race across the lawn with a kite soaring behind her. Richard was grilling on the patio, his face relaxed in a way she hadn't seen in years. They'd moved into a smaller house closer to the ocean. Nothing extravagant, just warm, lived in, safe. Emily took a deep breath. The past still lived in her bones, but it no longer controlled her future. Lily ran toward her, laughing, her cheeks pink with wind. "Mom, look, it's flying," Emily smiled. "So are we." And for the first time in a long, long time, she meant it. "Before I say goodbye, let me ask you, do you believe people can truly change, even those who've hurt you deeply? And what would you do if you had a second chance with someone you lost years ago? Now tell me, what do you think of this story? Comment no. 3 if it moved you, no. 2 if it felt okay, and no. 1 if it didn't quite hit the mark. Also, let me know which country are you watching from. Please don't forget to tap the heart and share this story if it touched you. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life.